Yes, geezers, Specie here. I've got a deck for every single faction. If you want more Gwent stuff from me, make sure you're subscribed. Also, I do stream on Twitch every day at twitch.tv/Specimen. I go live at 3:30 p.m. GMT, that's UK time, every day, pretty much. Yeah, so we're starting off with Syndicate. Firesworn got big buffs. Now, bear in mind, I'm recording this before the patch is actually live, so it's going to say I'm 4 provisions over. If you want the deck list with the updated card descriptions, it's in the description. But like Von Hurst, for example, his abilities changed, as has Damnation, Excommunication, have lost some provisions, so have the Inquisitors. So many big changes in this one. If you want more detailed explanations on each of the cards, go check out my patch notes video I uploaded yesterday as well. But pretty much the main objective of the deck is, as it's always been, you can play Fallen Knights. Hemmelfart is an absolutely insane card, and you can actually play this guy twice. You can play this guy twice, which is ridiculous. And that's because the card, known as Damnation, is able to now basically kill one of your own units and then spawn a Firesworn card. So if you kill an 8 strength unit, which this Inquisitor is going to be going to 8 strength quite consistently, because it's going to boost itself by 4 now. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain it when, you know, the patch isn't out. But the Inquisitor is going to be boosting itself by 4, and it's going to be 4 power, 4 provisions, which can put it to 8 points. You could then use your Damnation onto it, and it's going to basically spawn you either a Jax or a Hemmelfart. I do believe you create, so you'd get to choose. You pick the Hemmelfart because it's an insanely good card. There's also some pretty nuts synergy now with the Firesworn Scribes, which have always been very good with Helvide and Hemmelfart. The big problem you'd have before is row space. But now, with the fact that the Lonely Champion has got a cooldown, you can really make use of these Firesworn Scribes and do a lot of big shenanigans. I think there's possibly a way to like try and break the game with Firesworn archetype, maybe with like Townsfolk and all that kind of stuff. But this is just like a more generic, bog standard Firesworn list. I hope you guys enjoy it. We've got Furko in there as well. Furko, Von Hurst are like the main 2 cards. I would probably consider trying to replace if the deck isn't doing too well. Again, it won't be over provision tomorrow. We can also move on to Nilfgaard. Nilfgaard is the most boring deck that I have got, and because it's basically the same deck as last season. In fact, Blightmakers got nerfed. I kept them in the deck, mate. I just did. Like, I was umming and erring for a little while. I decided to just keep him in. The reason being is Blightmakers didn't get nerfed. It's Mage Assassins. Mage Assassins are going to be at 5 provisions. Hence why it says we have 2 spare provisions tomorrow. You won't. Mate, like, I didn't really know what to do with this deck. I wanted to keep the Blightmakers. I decided to put Knickers in the deck. You guys might want to put Glynis in instead. But Knickers is 3 points in round 1. That's not that bad, to be fair. So, yeah. I put Knickers in because I don't really like Glynis, but Glynis is fine. Up to you. I'll probably put Glynis in the one in the description, but personally, I just kind of feel like the Knickers is kind of funny. But probably Glynis is the better option, so yeah. You can cut Blightmakers. Like, I think something that a lot of people are going to do is just play one Blightmaker, one Mage Assassin. The problem with kicking both of them is it makes your Joachim pretty bad, and that's also why I wanted to not play Glynis particularly, because I feel like it makes my Joachim worse, right? Like, you don't want to Joachim into Glynis. I'm not an expert in the old Nilfgaard, so I don't know if that's going to be happening that often, but I feel like it might be. So yeah, I just put Knickers in there. You could play Furcart too, but is Furcart actually better than Knickers? Maybe. Yeah, Furcart's an option too. I guess Furcart you can make a case for being better than Knickers, but equally, like, this, you could Joachim into this, which you don't necessarily want to do. Maybe you do. Yeah, I don't know. Furcart probably better than Knickers, I guess, yeah. Or Glynis. Cool. Anyway, boring deck. Very boring. So glad to see that Mage Assassin is nerfed, because you can still consider playing it. Up next, we have a deck I'm very excited about. And it is a Reckless Fire. Again, 2 provisions over. That's because the Skirmish is here and now 5 provisions. What does that mean? That means you could play Portal Fish Flappers and Skirmishers in the same deck. That's flipping sick, mate. So, the problem with that is you can't play Scouts anymore, because you don't want to portal into Scouts. So you're going to have to play Coral Burner. Fukusha's also, like, going to help you out. But I decided that Fisher King was a really nice inclusion in this deck, because we have limited amount of discard cards in this. We don't have that Scout like extra. Also, you don't have a tutor for the portal. So if the portal's stuck at the bottom of the deck and you're trying to discard and you're really trying to be careful with your discards, you're going to end up bricking left, right, and center. So Fisher King is in the deck. Previously, these decks would play Avalak Sage, Scribe? Yeah, Avalak Sage. He's kind of a little bit power crap these days, to be honest. You also, like, this deck doesn't play Sunset Wanderers, which you could consider trying to include. You could definitely try and build some kind of hyper thin Skellige deck if you guys want to see me do that. Let me know. The other thing that's new about this deck is Gwent has had its Adrenaline change from 3 to 4, which is pretty cool with Arnagad. That is also why we've got a single Mahakam Ale. You can buff your Arnagad with an ale. We've also got a one-of Mardrone, which you can use on either the Fish Flappers with their armor. You can use it on the Quen as well with the shield. And yeah, a couple of Omega Scopes for your Adepts. You could try and like maybe play a Great Sword as well for the Mega Scope. So quite a few things you can do with this. I went for the Vesemir version with Fish Flappers and Arnagad. Yeah, pretty excited to give it a spin. I definitely don't think it's going to be the best SK deck, don't get me wrong, but it's just something cool that you can do. We've got 3 more decks. Let's go for Shield Wall next. Again, lots of really cool decks we can build around this new card which got buffed, which is Belahan and Cohen. Belahan is now going to be buffing things with Devotion up to 6. So I just went in for the all-in Devotion. Like, this is the kind of deck I knew you guys would want on day one. Belahan, Devotion with Redanian Knights, with Field Medics, with Marines. We've got Visigota to synergize with Cohen. We've also got Varaxus, so you can use your Varaxus on to Cohen. You can use Varaxus on to flipping Onsace as well. It's a bit of a sketchy looking deck. I mean, worst comes to worst, you can always use it on Marine as well. But yeah, like the potential for Varaxus onto Cohen is pretty flipping sick. And the reason we're playing Philippa again is because we just decided to go all in on the Belahan in this deck. And Philippa's going to get buffed by 5 points by this Belahan. So do I think this is the best way to play Belahan? Probably not. I think you're probably more likely to want to build some kind of like siege deck where you've got 2 alternative win cons. In this deck, you kind of have that with Immortals, Damn Sorceresses, or Rogna. You could try and use this to win round 1 and then your Belahan to win round 3. So there's a few things you can try and do. But yeah, it's a fun deck, mate. It's all in Belahan. What's not to like? Up next, we have Shiruga. He is, that was, someone told me to blink 3 times if I'm real. It's just confirming, isn't it? Everyone watching the YouTube video is like, what the how was that? Up next, Shiru. Again, we're provision under, but that's because Shiru is going to 10 provisions. If you haven't seen Shiru, he is now not going to kill himself. So that's pretty damn cool. Let me just refresh this because that bug is still existing. I just built an Alza deck, mate. It's a pretty boring deck, to be honest, with Shiru added. There's definitely some more interesting things you can do with Shiru, because if you get your Shiru really tall, there's not a big punish anymore. Like, you're not losing a bunch of points by clicking him. So, yeah, you can do some definitely very cool things with Shiru. I just went for Mushy Truffle with Alza. Bountiful Harvest also caught a really big indirect buff, because a lot of the cards that you can find off Harvest, the elves got buffed. A couple of Seers. I think we don't need the Spores. We can just include like another bomb. Like Madoc would also be a card you'd like to include in this deck, but I decided to put Muzzle in instead. Could put Madoc in instead of Muzzle. You could also ditch Alza if you really wanted to, and ditch Seers and Orbs and whatnot. It's just pretty good. Waylay gives you a tactic. It also got buffed. Guys, there's so many flipping Square Tail decks. I'm talking unlimited Waylays. I'm talking L. There's actually bare decks to try. It's a big flipping patch, mate. So big up CDPR. We've got a Suskia as well, which is just polarized, basically. A couple of humans, couple of Dryads, 1 Dwarf, which is also a Truffle hit, and also a couple of Elves. So very, very polarized Saskia to try and cram in as many cards as we possibly can. We've also, finally, last but not least, the first one we built today, which is White Frost Devotion. Okay, what's new about this deck? Well, Eridin is a point extra. Oberon, the final form, is now going to let you select a card from the starting deck. So the game plan is to go Oberon into Wild Hunt Riders in round 3. That's pretty damn cool. So Riders are in the deck. Similarly, Red Riders, now the spread is the same, but the precision allows you to replay a Bronze Wild Hunt card, so you could have a second Purify, or you could have a second Wild Hunt Warrior, or a second Navigator, because these cards also got changed. I put a single natural selection in, just a one-off Navigator to kind of try it out. Same with the Red Riders. We've also got Ozzy in there with Egon, Mamuna. Basically, there's not that many high-end cards in monsters you want to play. Like, you might want to play She Who Knows. You could play Unseen Elder, because with Devotion, kind of difficult to justify. same with old spear tip, like you get muzzled on this guy, right? So decided to put an E-Gurn in the deck with Mamuna, with Imlerith, with Imlerith's Wrath. You can Mamuna your Anal Conquerors, or you can Mamuna your Bruisers. And then you've also got Imlerith like onto E-Gurn as like a backup option. And then obviously you've got Aussie. It's a bit weird, mate, but like we honestly spent a long time on this deck and this was the cleanest it looked. The other way we tried was like flipping old spear tip, I think. I also tried a version with like Phantom, but mate, this card is so bad against Muzzle and everyone plays Muzzle at the moment. So yeah, we also cut Ardgaith in order to fit all this. Like Ardgaith was in the deck originally, so there's definitely some other ways you could play this, but I do think this is a very polarized way where you actually get like really good golds like Mamuna, like Ozerul in particular is just a fantastic gold card. 14 points for 8 provisions is no joke. Maybe a little bit low on the old Frost though. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If there's any other decks you want to see, I'm obviously going to be playing loads more. This is just my first like take on decks before the patch actually dropped with the help of Twitch chat. There's definitely other ways you can build a lot of these decks, which is really cool. Big up to CDPR for a big patch. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch if you've watched this far. I might even be streaming right now. Twitch.tv/Specimen. And also like the video. And yeah, thanks. Bye.